Breaking news here at 10. Iranian state media has confirmed that the country's supreme leader, Ayatollah Ali Khamenei, was killed at his compound in Tehran. That comes after joint strikes by the U.S. and Israel earlier today. Thank you for joining us tonight. I'm Eric Miller. The Israeli military began another wave of strikes against Iran, targeting its missiles and air defenses, including in just the last hour. The FBI's counterterrorism and counterintelligence teams are on high alert after the strikes, looking out for possible retaliation. President Donald Trump says he believes other Iranian decision makers are also dead here. Alice Barr has details on the attack that is still unfolding tonight.
In an explosion of violence in Iran, the U.S. and Israel launching airstrikes targeting the country's missile and nuclear programs and senior leadership, with Iran now confirming its supreme leader, Ayatollah Ali Khamenei, is dead. He led an intensely repressive regime in Iran for nearly 40 years. Earlier today, President Trump spoke directly to the Iranian people.
When we are finished, take over your government. It will be yours to take.
Iran's foreign minister had pushed back in an NBC News interview this morning.
Well, I think this is mission impossible. For regime change.
Iran is retaliating, firing attacks toward Israel and U.S. military bases in the region. President Trump monitoring closely with his national security team and speaking with Israel's prime minister, who argued this war will lead to true peace. Senior Trump administration officials telling reporters Iran was threatening American forces in the region with potential missile strikes, and the U.S. acted preemptively with the long-term goal of preventing Iran from rebuilding its nuclear program after U.S. and Israeli strikes last year. The president saying diplomacy was not working in ongoing nuclear talks.
We will ensure that Iran does not obtain a nuclear weapon. It's a very simple message.
Anti-war demonstrations breaking out in American cities as the world waits for what's next. In Washington, Alice Barr, NBC News.
And lawmakers in both parties are calling for a war powers vote in Congress and a detailed briefing on the strikes. Opposition to those strikes has also popped up in downtown Raleigh this evening.
No justice, no peace. U.S. out the Middle East. U.S. out the Middle East. No justice, no peace.
In this video from the WRAL Breaking News Tracker, you can see a group of a few dozen marching down East Hargett Street here. Police were blocking off streets as those protesters marched. They confirmed tonight no arrests were ultimately made. Those protesters aren't alone. Many have spoken out against Iran's regime. These airstrikes are drawing mixed opinions tonight. WRAL's Heidi Kirk joins us live from downtown Raleigh, where those protesters started this afternoon. Heidi, a lot of strong opinions on this issue.
Well, and Eric, we're standing right here in the area in downtown Raleigh where those protesters made their way here through the streets of downtown and across our area. Now, while many Iranians asked the U.S. government for help here, many think that the regime change should come from within.
For many Iranians, the signs of an attack bring complicated feelings.
We are grieving, we are excited, we are happy, we are worried, but at the end, we just want this regime to be gone, destroyed, and forever.
Farah Porsheriati moved from Iran to the U.S. more than 30 years ago, escaping the Islamic regime that took over in 1979. Her friends and family remain in her home country.
I mean, for the last 2 months, we've been waiting. President Trump keeps saying, help is on its way. Every night, every day, we were just hoping something's going to happen.
For her, the sound of the airstrikes mark a step forward, while for others, the U.S. involvement is not the answer.
We strongly believe that regime change in Iran cannot be done by the outsider. But Iranian people are capable of doing it. And if someone from outside of Iran wants to bring regime change, They need to have boots on the ground.
In the midst of the strikes, the president encouraged Iranians to work alongside him in this video posted to Truth Social.
When we are finished, take over your government. It will be yours to take.
We asked Shahram Mazari, who moved to North Carolina from Iran as a teenager, what the message means to him.
We're going to look at it as a positive sign, and once enough damage has been done at the highest level of the regime's officials, the Iranian people can do the rest.
Iranians clinging to the hope of a better future.
No doubt that Iranians across the world, across the country, and of course here in the Triangle will be watching this unfold very closely. Heidi Kirk, WReal News, live in downtown Raleigh.
Heidi, thank you very much here tonight. There is so much more that we are getting to here on this story tonight, including what will happen next in Iran. North Carolina native and retired U.S. Army Lieutenant General Bob Ashley says American boots on the ground here are unlikely, but airstrikes alone are also unlikely to bring about change in Iranian leadership. After the fire and the fury, Bob Ashley sees an uncertain future in the Islamic Republic.
This is a very fluid situation.
The retired lieutenant general and former head of the Defense Intelligence Agency says with Iran's supreme leader, Ayatollah Ali Khamenei, dead, it's not clear who or what will take control of the country of more than 90 million people.
So regime change doesn't always mean tantamount to some form of a democracy. We could get an outcome that is potentially worse, or we could get some kind of an interim entity. But clearly the theocracy and the regime that's been in place since '79 is at its weakest position.
Ashley says in the wake of the strikes, the U.S. will now be taking a closer look at the aftermath and deciding what happens next.
That'll dictate the nature of future strikes or some more diplomatic outreach, depending on what we learn over the course of probably the next 12 to 18 hours.
President Donald Trump has vowed strikes on Iran could continue for days or weeks. Ashley says that alone is unlikely to guarantee a new government steps forward.
How do we continue pressure economically, politically? How do we enable some of these groups that are protesting? You know, we've done this via Starlink to give them the ability to communicate. There's other information operations, things along those lines you could do as enablers. And so I think we really have to look at this beyond just the military domain to look at multiple different layers in which how we want to go after this.
And Ashley does point out as well that Iran does have the capability to retaliate here, including with missiles, rockets, and drones. Well, the mixed reaction does continue to these strikes tonight from North Carolina's congressional delegation. On X, Republican Senator Tom Tillis posted, the Iranian regime has spent decades as the world's leading sponsor of terrorism, systematically destabilizing the Middle East while calling for the death of America. President Trump has rightfully determined that this theocratic dictatorship cannot be allowed to acquire nuclear weapons and continue to slaughter its own citizens who simply want freedom. Republican Senator Ted Budd's post also on X reads, President Trump knows well that the American people do not favor prolonged conflict, but there is also little doubt that Iran's reckless ambition to obtain nuclear weapons and long-range missiles represents a grave threat to our safety and security. Democrats, meanwhile, responding as well, including Democratic Congresswoman Valerie Foushee. She posted this statement reading, the president's strikes are completely illegal and are plunging us into a senseless regime change war over oil. He needs to be held accountable. Lives are at stake. And from Congresswoman Deborah Ross, also a Democrat, Trump's attack on Iran is unwarranted and unconstitutional. Iran is controlled by a despotic regime that must be held accountable, but Trump is dragging our country into a war that the American people don't want and that Congress didn't authorize. WRAL is continuing to monitor the unrest throughout the Middle East. You can find more online at WRAL.com, in the WRAL News app, or on the WRAL YouTube page.